Раз. Слышно меня? Так. Это вопрос, да? Я вижу. Где? Нина? Нина, вернись, я все прощу. Нина, меня слышно, да? Все хорошо? Отлично. Вот. У нас тут у молодого человека вопрос был, он руку поднимал, я видел.
This young man had a question? Or who had a question? You had a question, right? Ah, okay. Please take a seat. Okay. Okay, let's start. Raise your hands who attended the first round table in the 21st conference in Moscow. We talked about test managers. And who attended the second round table when we talked about input problems at the 22nd conference in St. Petersburg. Oh, thanks God. That was not very interesting. But also you can watch the video. We have it. So, what do we mean under the round table? We mean that we don't have a speaker, we have only participants, and we want you to participate actively in this work. Let's check. So, Andrew, please raise your hand. Okay. Yeah, please give the mic to Andrew. Andrew, introduce yourself, please. Doesn't work. Try again. So this is you gave the mic to the tester, and I tried to hack it. So please, let's applaud to these nice people. Take the mic from him. That's it. That was the test, just a test run. Now everybody knows what to do next. Okay, so if you want to take the place of Andrei, I mean, take the mic. Now you are co-lead. If you want to become a co-lead, so raise your hand, and we'll give you this possibility. Okay, so what shall we do next? First, the participants will introduce themselves, then Alexander will make an introductory round. Do you know what is Economy of Testing version 1.0? Raise your hand. Okay. So I think I see that most of you know what it is about. Okay, then Alexander will tell you a little about that. Okay. And who doesn't know? Oh, so many people do not know. No, we have to tell a little about what is that. We have some test cases prepared. We can discuss them. If you want to give your own examples, your own test cases, we will also discuss it. We will gladly discuss it with you, and also we'll make a coffee break a little later. The only thing is that probably it won't be according to the agenda, but also you can go out, take coffee, come back and continue. Okay, so let's introduce ourselves. Let's start with Andrew Pavlov. Well, yeah. Hello, my name is Andrei Pavlov. I'm really glad to see you at the opening of this beautiful conference. I'm here wasting your time. As you see, I'm a senior project manager. I work in one of the IT systems projects. It's a Russian branch of ID Telecom, German company, and also I deal with the funding raised for testing. I analyze the ROI of testing, and so I know a lot about the economy, and probably I will share some good experience with you today. We have another Andrei here. His name is Andrei Ladushka. Hello everyone, you've probably seen me at the opening. After the opening on the first day I held a presentation. I'm head of the testing department, same as the Andrei. I can repeat I have the same situation. What I'm doing, I assess how much testing is useful, how should be documented in the manual. So I give you my own examples, try to share my experience so that you do it well. Okay, now we don't have any more Andres, we have only Alexanders left. Okay, I will stand up so that you see me. You couldn't see me yesterday at the stage because I didn't hold any presentations. I also work in IT systems company, same as Andrea. I'm head of the department for integration testing, and I started my career as a tester quite long ago. Then I became a PM, and now I have moved from. I moved to the level of testing projects, portfolio management. So please share your experience as well. I think we should have a dialogue rather than monologue, so please.
Alexander Kutsan, dear colleagues, everyone, hi. How are you feeling today? It's been the second day, so you should pull yourself together. My name is Alexander Kutsan. I'm working for a company, Rexsoft, and I'm responsible for the business development sector. I perform testing and I sell test services, and probably today, as part of our discussion, we'll talk with you about the economic aspects. And we'll discuss the economic aspects from a broader perspective, from the business perspective. Have a nice day, everyone. Oh, and Alexander Alexandrov is actually our keynote participant. I only came today here from Moscow early in the morning, and I wasn't able to talk with you yesterday, but I'm not a manager. I do not manage anyone, anywhere, and I think this is my advantage. But a couple of questions, a couple of years I had questions about testing, and I think the questions about testings are key essential ones in our business. I spoke about these issues in the previous conference, and I hope today I'll be able to listen to your opinion, listen to your point of view. So I'm thankful for that. Let's start with introduction. Please take the floor in any convenient mode for you. Colleagues, I saw the hands raised up, and I realized that most of you didn't hear my presentation and my previous report, and still I'm surprised that so many people are there, somebody lying, sitting, standing next to the wall, and I hope everyone is interested and will be interested for everyone. But there's those who never heard my report but still came today. I'd like to revise and go through the issues that we discussed at a previous conference. All the information is available in the conference website. You could get back to it. There is the presentation, there are questions and answers. Everything is available on the website of the conference. But briefly, let me sum it up briefly. The content that I'm going to talk about in my presentation, I cannot even call it a speech. So version 1.0. This is a version about the processes that are well established. This is the historical data. We have the cost estimates analysis. We try to find the rationale for the budgeting. Then we're trying to agree with the management and continue with the sales. Then we analyze our plans and our time plans, like we need to spend 3,000 hours for certain tasks. If you do not let us have these 3,000 hours, then we will spend for something different. And if we're not allowed to do something, the outcome will be worse because we were not able to use the time needed for that. The target of economy 1.0 is the return of investment. We're making the project, we're earning money, and we invest some of these earnings in testing, in the outcomes. The testing is successful, product successful, the company gets the margin, everything works very well, like this. But the version 2.0 is slightly different. It's a kind of a standby parachute in case the other one doesn't work. In the end, we get certain estimations, we get certain assessments, but we understand how we are going to utilize the assessments received, how we are going to account for the qualification skills of their companies, available personnel, what's their possibilities in the labor market, what are customers' expectations, what is the qualification of our developers, what are the wishes of end users, what the changes are, and all of these things have to be taken into account. And version 2.0 covers all these questions. Sometimes we also have to ask, shall we go for test case or shall we limit our activity to checklists? Shall we use the data based on iteration? Shall we process our own data? Sometimes our own data is more complicated and it's hard. We never know whether it's payback, while real data sometimes is not available because it is commercial secret. What testers are available? The biggest dream of all the testers is that we put 10 million together and have a baby born in 1 month. And do you think it's possible that 10 junior engineers will work in the same way as one senior and replace it? You would laugh if we try to think of this. I won't talk a lot about automation because they see like a big black hole which eats loads of money. If you're interested in this, we can talk about this later, but not now. Our target in the end is to make our work as best as possible. Still, this target is very abstract because what is better? Top management understands the money. The engineer understands the concept of professionalism. Now, an example, money can buy you everything. Let's take the initial situation. We try to understand the labor, evaluate the labor course. For testing, we have 500 hours and got an approval to pay for this labor hours. But if the customer understands the wording that any wish, if you pay for this, and the customer may understand it directly that any wish can be fulfilled. And sometimes the customer just sends some wishes and requests to make changes only to feel himself better, but sometimes time is running out, the labor hours are running out, and the product is still not finished. The quality is unpredictable in this case. And then at a certain stage, the project simply closes down because this is no longer economically efficient. Or we may continue work further because we want to keep our face in front of our customer, we want to stay in the market. What could have been included in the version 2.0? In 2.0 we have budget. Budget is calculated in man hours. We are engineers, we are working with the man hours. But in this version we have the uninterruptible analysis of necessity on changes. Because we don't know whether changes are needed or not. If we work together with the customer, we would understand in the end. Then it contains dynamic prioritization to check whether something pays back or not. Then the customer is engaged in testing. It is a problem because the customer does not have additional resources, so we have to think what is more profitable for the customer, either to spend additional resources and get a discount from the project contract value and get in the end what the customer wants, or to get a formal opinion and then end up in the end in the arbitration court trying to decide whose fault it was. Summing it all up, I'd like to underline the following. First of all, testing is also economic activity among everything else. And it is in the first place economic activity. A developer may say, I develop 20 features, I develop 3,500 lines of code, that's it. A tester cannot say, I've done everything. It's just not possible for him to say so. So this is the brief summary of what version 1.0 is and what version 2.0 is. That's it from my side. There's no need to ask me any questions because that will be a subject of further discussion at the round table. Thank you. Okay, let's have a look at this slide. Does anyone have any feedback on this? Do you agree with the problem setting? Do you agree with such a division for version 1.0 and 2.0? Can you hear me well, by the way? Is anyone using version 2.0 already? Hi everyone, my team is already using version 2.0, but my team is not that big. We're a smaller company. Our customer is the 14th person in the team, and the customer is quite nice because he has technical background, he understands what we do. We use version 2.0, and when new testers join our team, we sometimes have to explain that every time they take up a new task and set up the priorities and assess priorities, trying to understand what is essential for the user, then we advise them to ask the customer, ask those people in the team who know. The customer or the team will always give feedback. That's why we do not usually have additional and expensive checks. The key thing for us is to check the positive scenario, that everything is work. I believe that version 2.0 means that 2.0, that we test the limits, we test the battery limits. And it seems to me that version 2.0 better suits for the team with transparent and well-structured processes. And version 1.0 is more suitable for the teams where it's hard to reach the management. In our case, it's much easier because the customer projects the similar values as we do. Still, it's hard to understand how it could be implemented in a big team having about 1,000 testers. Wow, then I'd like to ask a question. How come that you started to use the version 2.0? Did the customer tell you, hey guys, let's follow that option? In our project, initially, there were no testers. Then we hired one tester who was at the same time an analyst. Then I joined the team and one more tester joined the team, and we were both and all doing testing and analysis. And the team asked us what we should do next. And when at this stage we were designing the requirements and were doing the testing, we realized that it makes no sense to do the tests against version 1.0. And yes, as I heard the presentation of this page, and I explained why we have the version 1.0. You see, I'm quite interesting. How come that you already know the differences between the version 1 and version 2? Because even we among ourselves do not know what exactly the difference is. Well, we've been using this methodology in version 2.0 and 1.0, we understand. Do you think that version 1.0 is evil? Wow, 5 persons. 6. I think that From the point of view of process control, it's much easier and simpler to control all the time. Meaning it's a controlled evil.
Окей, хорошо. Ну ладно.
Okay, I
Значит,
got your
пока
point.
между аудиторией
Thank
и
you.
начальниками,
So
в принципе, так
we
и
have the
идет.
communication, we
Вот,
have the
разделено.
contact
Здесь
between
есть вот это
the
выделение. И это одна
audience
из
and the
просьб, которые,
speakers.
если я правильно понял Александра Александрова, это как бы
If I
обязательно, да, то есть
understood Alexander correctly, is to have that communication between the audience and between the split, and still there is a concern whether we could
ну, всегда есть такое, да, когда что-то
split
придумал.
the version
Просто
1,
мы,
version 2,
когда
and what
первый
the
раз
differences are.
обсуждали, мы стали книжки искать,
When
тему.
we were discussing this topic for the first time, we were trying to find some books on this issue, but there was only one. And this topic seemed boring,
Окей.
and the book seemed boring.
Нет, другая, которая называется «Про экономику тестирования».
The book is called The
Андрей
Economy
Иванович,
of
да,
Testing.
может сейчас докинуть.
Я бы сказал, неплохая книга.
I'd say the book is not that boring. It contains pictures.
И это таблицы, да? Таблицы. вот
By
эти вот,
pictures, you mean
картинки,
graphs
да,
and tables.
картинки. Окей.
Good.
Economics of Software Testing, автор, по-моему, Кравец.
So the book is titled Economy of Testing. It's only available in the English language. But if you Google Economy of Testing, then you will first see the link to the book, and then you will see the link to our presentation. Now let's come to the case. I think this is a wonderful case. This has happened by an evolutionary approach. Initially, your task was to minimize the expenses, but at the same time keep the quality, which is complicated for a big company. Big companies can really suggest and make quotations for more than 1,000 hours. And you actually chose the model of growth. I think this is how efficient companies work, because they just have no other way out. I'd like to add that when you were talking about evil, whether it is evil or whether it is not, we may have different views. For the team, it might be something bad, but at the same time, the economy is good because having an economy, and then you still kept the quality. For outsourcing companies, this is not evil at all, because you can optimize their ROI index, and if the customer is ready to pay for this, why not? If the customer pays for that, the testers might work only 4 hours per day. At the same time, the quality, at the end, product is guaranteed, because all things have been tested. I'd say that this is neither evil, neither good. It's just the way people treat it. So my question is, what is the correlation between the economy 1.0, economy 2.0? How do you correlate the quality and expenses? So what happens with the quality if you apply the 2.0 model? I think that the question of quality is quite controversial. It is not. It is not controversial at all. But you see, we argue about this question. For some people, soya sausage, which is cheap, has good quality. For some people, it's the expensive veal sausage is also quality. So I guess the quality is measured by the user. Something which is good for the user has good quality, and users are not familiar and they do not know about some technical issues which ensure quality. I cannot compare return on investment, because in version 2.0 we didn't calculate how many dollars per hour each employer spends and what is the return of investment in this case. We didn't use ROI as the financial indicator. The key criteria for us is customer satisfaction and user satisfaction. We are telling our customers every time why users need this. We know why we do it. We work more as analysts And only later, after we have understood our customer's motivation, we may change something that he wanted to implement, because the customer may think that the users want one solution, and we could propose, after having done the analysis, something that users are more interested in and what is more needed. In the end, we came to the implementation stage with the optimum solution. And it's better to find out all the issues before this, at the stage of implementation than the stage of the release. Okay, I see you didn't tell the customer that you know better, you will show what to do. Well, but right. This nice lady has many questions, but let's discuss them later. Well, somebody would like to give an answer to the previous statement of the previous speaker. It would be great if you just meet each other and talk together directly after you have some time, find some time. Oh, let's get back to voting. The assessment of the maximum efficiency and the correlation between creativeness and result orientation. So it's first we have to analyze what efficiency is, because efficiency is not always calculated in money-wise terms. And we're talking about creativeness and inventiveness. Sometimes we encounter a lot of failures. Do you understand it correctly that the version 2.0 contains some contradictions? Well, it does.
So I will share my point of view. I think the efficiency, it's not some vague concept, but it's quite measurable thing. So here we have some problem with understanding, because on the right we have products and all the rest is covered with outsource. And can we measure the happiness of the users? Yeah, but if we take a commercial look at that, then it's measurable, quantifiable. Well, I can propose, because a little later we'll discuss the cases. Maybe it will be more clear what we mean under creativity or inventions, and what kind of situations we encounter. So after the cases, after we discuss the cases, if you have any further questions, please ask. My name is Andrei, and I disagree with what? With a lot of things that have been mentioned. I will now list them. First, in principle, the quality within company, well, it's quite measurable and clear thing, but it's something that is agreed between the tester and the customer and or any other like third party. Then it's agreed not just like that. It should be a win-win situation for both, at least for those who earn money with that. And when we talk about 2.0 version, which describes not only positive cases but negative cases, so I don't believe that it works, and I will explain why. Because in any case, the task, the objective of the business is to earn money, and if we spend more time on that than on standard positive cases, then it drags behind, because while one is making like perfect interface, perfect code, at the same time some developer launches some raw product in the market and starts earning money, and before you release your perfect product, this raw product is becoming popular, improved, and so you lose. So where do you take money, resources on this 2.0 transformation? My name is Alexander, and I disagree. Let's go step by step through your list of issues. First, the agreement is between the customer and the contractor, and it can be profitable only for the customer only. So the requirements are formed so that to generate profit for the customer. And the contractor, using his personal approaches method, he tries to convince the customer that let's change these requirements. We can offer you some alternatives like this, and that, and then we can remove this and that because we think it's not efficient. And I can explain why. Maybe using the economy 2.0, when the customer says, okay, let's make these cases, negative cases, let's verify, check everything, 100 coverage, etc. From the point of view of the quality and of the thesis that the customer included in his requirements, then we can get an alternative, from an alternative point of view. And it depends very much on the model of payments on the project. If it's time and material, it's one approach, and if it's 2.0, it's another approach. And we can use this to convince the customer to approve the decision, which is also more convenient for us. If some inefficient solution is paid for by the customer completely, then it's okay. But if the customer wants to save money, then we are eager to spend less efforts, involve less people, and to make a good product with less resources. So that's why we convince the customer, let's remove this, that, this will make a little bigger, so there will be less costs and higher efficiency. Well, yeah, it's quite reasonable. It's quite reasonable, but I think, yeah, I will stand up. I want to see the audience. Let's imagine that on one scale, we have some time that we've saved, so we have some free time in the working week, and we say that let's check. On one scale we put the negative negative cases, and on the second the features. So who encountered the first situation, please raise your hands, and who encountered the second situation, raise your hands. But what do you mean under you get some free time, you saved some time, but well, that's, yeah, you wanted to add something. Hello, my name is Olga. I agree in 50% only. What do you mean? Well, I am still thinking it over, but I mean that we are talking about two approaches which are actually not very narrow or specific. We just use either one option or another option. So, and if we talk about fixed price, about tuning, hourly based payments, but let's look at the option when the team starts using 1.0 version. But when the customer wants to do something else, we switch to 2.0 version, and then we have some common agreement with fixed flat rate, and if a customer wants something extra, then we say, yes, we'll do what you want, but it will cost you 200 hours of experts work. So 2.0 means we work according to the plan. So we include creativity in it, and we discussed it so that we either pay or if we don't have enough resources, we just ask for some extra money. But if you want to do something, include some extra features, then we need extra funding. But how can we get it? Well, it's I mean that it happens every time in our projects. What, that's how we work. There is one only a very interesting problem. When you switch to 2.0, so it spoils the mood of the customer immediately. Okay, let's move further. Let's move on. Oh, maybe I'm going a little bit ahead of agenda, but maybe we'll talk about that later. But normally we talk not about some final project. For example, we make the first version of our product, we test it and deliver it to the customer. Normally, if it works well, if the product works well, the next version of the product will be released after that. But during development and testing of the first version, we have to think about scaling up. How can we spend now some resources so that we scale up the next version easier and cheaper? How to include this? How can we use this scaling up in 2.0 version? As far as I understand it, this approach is exactly the 2.0 economy approach. Because what makes you to think in advance how to make the next release cheaper? If you have some budget and you don't exceed it, so according to economy 1.0, you just do it, and this is easier without any forecasting and thinking ahead. But if your customer make some requirements, or you think the scope of the second release will be smaller, but the resources will be same resources will be needed, then there are some factors that make you think now about the future work and how to make it more efficient in future, the process, maybe make it automated, etc. So that's why I think this is a good example of 2.0 approach, creativity and non-linear approach. Okay, I want to say that difference is that we want to earn more during the same period of time, but it depends on this period of time, because if it's short period, then we do it with features, but if it's long-term period, then it's more important to make this technical basis to add new features in a week, not in a month in future. That's why sometimes it's also possible if you can justify it properly. So economy 1.0, what do you have to do? So it's very often explained to you by your managers who have passed through it and who know it. And in economy 2.0, you very often encounter with a situation when people who manage you don't know anything about the testing, and you then can express your opinion. That's exactly what I wanted to ask you about this conflict. We have to allocate money for the prospective development, not only money but time, etc. So, but some people, they want to spend money on make the release of some feature quicker, to deploy the product in the market quicker. And is there some universal solution or strategy how to deal with that? Well, I think this unique situation, colleague on the left says that it never happens, and on the right the colleague tells about the practical case when it actually happened. And I think it's possible to vote. So, did you have any case when the business was not satisfied with the quality. Please raise your hands when the business was not satisfied. So a lot of hands raised. Yeah, but as far as the scalability is concerned, so you think that we have to think one step ahead, right? Because, for example, we have a case, and we will talk about it a little later. Okay, so now I think we should make a coffee break, a standard coffee break. After coffee break, come and we'll talk about practical cases.